So I had a situation last week where an agent in the office came and asked my advice. They had put an offer in for a buyer. It was a multiple offer situation. And so in their offer, they agreed to not ask for repairs under $5,000 as just a way to make their offer more attractive against the others. The offer gets accepted. The buyer does their inspections. And then after the inspections, it came back that there was about $3,000 worth of repairs to be done. I don't remember. I think it had to do with water in the basement or something like that. But now I've got a buyer that wants these $3,000 worth of repairs done. And this is a pretty common thing. We get competitive multiple offer situations and buyers, want to do anything to be able to get the house that they want. But after that initial joy and just kind of euphoria of getting the house under contract and getting accepted, well, now a week or two goes by, we've done inspections, and it's pretty common at that point for buyers to kind of feel like they've given too much, or, the seller is getting too good of a deal, yada, yada, yada. And so they have maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse about what they gave up in order to get the property under contract. And so in this scenario, what can we do? Well, if we have maintained our inspection contingency, we always have the ability to just terminate the contract. And so, yes, in my offer, I've said that I'm not going to ask for repairs under $5,000, but I can always just terminate. A termination 99% of the time is going to be much worse for the seller. They maybe at this point could go back to one of the people that put in one of the other offers, but they're also going to have to disclose anything that was discovered in this inspection that they were made aware of. And so most of the time, it's just worse for the seller to have to go back on the market. However, if I, as the buyer's agent, approach the seller's agent and say, hey, we want to get this $3,000 worth of repairs done, and if you don't do them, we're just going to terminate the contract. Well, it's highly likely of a chance that I'm going to elicit this emotional response out of the seller, and they're not going to do anything just out of principle, regardless of the fact that it is better for them to just go ahead and do the repairs. People will act emotionally and not logically if you allow them. And so my advice in this scenario was to utilize kind of version of the accusation audit that Chris Voss talks about, in which when I go to the seller, I'm going to go ahead and lead with all of the bad things that they could possibly say about me. I'm going to call and I'm going to say, listen, I'm so much of an asshole. I know that we said that we weren't going to ask for repairs, and we have no right to ask for repairs. And, we put this under contract in order to get it under contract. And here we are kind of going back, but my buyer is just insisting, he's threatening to terminate. Can you help me? Can we put this deal together? And that subtle shift, essentially I'm still kind of putting all of my eggs in the basket of, ultimately, it's better for the seller to accept and just do the repairs rather than terminate. But by framing it in a way of calling out all of the bad things that they could possibly say about me, and trying to place it as myself and the listing agent working together to get this deal done, I have just a much, much better chance of getting these people on my side and having them work to actually come up with a solution that works for everyone. And I can tell you how that worked out is that the repairs ended up getting done. Buyer super happy. Seller feels like, okay, well, that was a little unreasonable, but at least we got our deal done. And everyone walked away super happy. And that's just a Tip Tuesday number 1.